Alright, so I'm going to be replacing the screen on this iPhone 8. So you're going to want something to heat it. You want like a needle, and then you'll want, of course, the replacement screen. And we'll need these tools. We'll need let me see if I can grab it. Okay, we'll need a pentalobe 0.8 or a P2. Alright, then we'll also need a PH or a JAS 00, and then we'll also need a tri-wing 0.6 or 000. Okay, so first we're going to take the pentalobe 0.8 or P2 screwdriver and remove the 2 screws from the bottom. Okay, you'll also need a suction cup or a really thin pry tool to get the screen out. Okay, remove the 2 screws. You want to keep all the screws in order because they are different size, shape, and lengths. Okay, you don't want to get them mixed up. If you get them mixed up, you can actually damage the phone by putting the wrong screw in the wrong place. Alright, so once you remove those 2 screws, we're going to pry open the screen. If you want, you can use heat and a suction cup, but usually I find it's too cracked, so I use this thin pry tool. You can use whatever you have. I just get in between the 2 layers like this, and then I lift it up slightly. Okay, and then I go along the edge of the phone to cut the adhesive. So go along the side here, just like this, right? You don't want to stick the tool too far. On the side, there's actually a metal bracket that prevents you from putting the tool too far, but along the bottom edge, you want to be careful not to stick the tool too far or you can damage the inside of the phone. Okay, so just go along the bottom of the phone here, okay? And then we'll go along the side edge and we'll slice all the adhesive up. Okay, just like this. Once you get all the adhesive up, you should be able to lift the screen out. So here you can see the screen is lifting up. Okay, the top still has some adhesive, but I'm not cutting through that yet. Usually you just peel it up like this, but be careful not to pull the screen too far because the LCD cable is connected right there. Okay, so once you get that up, you can actually peel out this old adhesive and throw it away. We don't actually need to replace the old adhesive, but you will lose waterproofing. Even if you redo the adhesive, the waterproofing won't really work well, so I don't recommend dropping your phone in water after this happens to your phone. Alright, let me make sure to shut it off. Okay. Alright, once you get the screen open like this, then you'll want to try and run your pry tool along the top. Okay, just like this. Okay, it's a little tricky getting the top layer off because you do have to kind of pull it down while you're kind of lifting it up. Okay, so cut the adhesive around here. Okay, and then you want to pull the screen down slightly. Alright, and then while you're pulling it down, you want to rotate it over like a book cover. Okay, so try and get all the adhesive up and then slowly open this like a book cover. Okay, again, you want to be careful because there's the adhesive holding all under here, and then all these cables are along the side. Alright, so to remove this, we will have to use the PH 00, and yeah. Alright, looks like on this iPhone it's all using the PH 00 or JIS 00, except for the screws down on the home button. Sorry, I'm going out of the camera. So first what we're going to do is remove this metal plate here. There's 4 screws holding it in place. Okay, just remove all 4 screws. Again, you want to keep all the screws in order because they are different size, shapes, and lengths. You don't want to get them all mixed up. If you do, you can damage the phone. Okay. And the best way to do this is you just put them on your desk or your table in the order that you're moving them in the pattern. So since this has like 3 going out in a diagonal, you put them like that and then 1 off to the side. Okay. Then after you get those screws out, you just lift this metal plate up. Alright, just like that. Set it aside. We'll want to disconnect the battery connector here first. Let me zoom in so you can see that a little bit better. Okay, so the battery connector is this smaller one right here. I just use my fingernail and get underneath. You can use a plastic little pry tool, but you just lift that cable up just like that. After you do that, press and hold the power button for about 10 to 15 seconds. This will drain any power that's left in the board and will prevent doing damage to the other circuits when taking out the components. All right. Okay, so now that we've done that, open the phone back up. You can peel out all this adhesive if you want, but I would recommend trying doing this after you remove the screen just to be safe so you don't accidentally yank the cables. But if it's in the way, you can pull them out. All right, then we're going to remove the two cables right here. So get your fingernails or your pry tool underneath there on the edge and just pop it up just like that. Same thing with that one. Pop it up. There we go. All right, then there's 3 screws holding this camera bracket in place. So we're going to remove those. Also using the PH or JIS 00. Again, keep these screws in order. You don't want to get them all mixed up. All right, 1, 2, and 3. All right. Once you get those 3 screws up, then you can lift this metal bracket up and out of the way, just like that. All right. And then we're just going to disconnect this one cable here. This one's a little bit tricky to get to, but just pop it up, just like that. All right, and there we go. Then you can pull the screen away. There's the adhesive underneath. You do want to try and peel all this adhesive off. You don't want to leave it underneath because then it will make a lumpy surface. So I try and just peel off all this adhesive. I don't want to leave any underneath if I can help it. Okay, so just peel all that adhesive up. Okay. All right. If there's some left like stuck, try and scrape it out, but if it's really a thin layer, then it's usually not too big of a deal. But you don't want to leave like an uneven surface under here, especially if there's like broken glass stuck on it. A random screw just fell out from nowhere, so you want to be careful. If there's random loose screws in here, I found one. There's here, out of here, this screw fell out. So I'm going to put this screw back in, make sure that it's nice and tight. That's pretty dangerous. If screws come loose by themselves, they can cause damage inside of the phone, so you do want to make sure that those screws are nice and tight. If you want, you can check all the screws in there and like try and tighten up while you got it open. Those are okay. That's using a that's using a tri-wing screw. Okay, so I just tightened up some of those loose screws. Right, we're gonna set this aside again. You do want to try and get off all the adhesive if you can. There's still some over here as well. Let me peel that off. And this adhesive is like a stretch adhesive, so if you peel it slowly, it should all peel up, unless sometimes it gets torn. And then you have to go and like try and peel up the excess over there. Okay. Sorry, it's going out of view of the camera again. All right, there we go. Okay, so we got out all the adhesive. There's a tiny bit more in this corner, this white piece. All right, so we'll take all that out. All right, now we're going to remove the home button. Actually, we can remove the camera stuff first. And one thing you want to check with your screen, let me check with their screen. So this one, the customer bought the screen, so I didn't buy it. It does come with this adhesive. If you want, you can try putting it back, but usually it doesn't go on right. I'm going to try and put it for them since they bought it and it came with it. It also came with this screen protector. I'm going to tell them they have to put that on themselves if they want it, because I'm charging them less than my usual rate. So, yeah. All right. Then we got this. It also came with these other tools, but I don't use any of that. Alright, so it looks like their screen also came with the metal bracket, but they used Phillips, the PH0 or 00 screws. Normally it uses these tri-wing screws, so I don't know if I should change them or I'm just gonna leave that, I suppose. Okay, they have a little instruction thing here. I'm gonna peel that off. That's one of the reasons usually I like using my own parts, because then the stuff the customer has does some weird stuff. So it says screws are in different length. Please install responsive screws in their right holes. Long screws installed in short holes will damage circuit. So that's basically what I'm saying. Don't mix up the screws. Do not press the four edges. Do not pull or stretch the cables. Keep their order and seat properly if cables seated improperly. Okay. Basically, it's just saying if you plug them in wrong, you can damage something, obviously. Okay, so let me make sure their screws look okay. They use their own little bracket things, and they look okay, but the screws they use, the tops are a bit thicker, so I don't know if that's going to cause an issue. So just to be safe, I'm actually going to remove their screws and put in the screws I have. Okay. Oh, that's actually going to make it easier. They already have the camera and everything set up here. So if you want to see how to remove the camera setup, you can watch my other video for that. I'm going to leave that in there. Since they already have all of this stuff, I'm actually going to leave it as is and try it and see how it works out. So I'm just going to transfer over the home button here. Okay, so I guess if you bought this set with this thing, it makes it a lot easier. Okay, so again, I'm going to skip over that part. I'm pretty sure I have an iPhone 8 screen replacement video where I do replace the camera and everything. So if you want to see that, you can watch that one. Okay, so I'm going to remove the home button from here. So it's very important that you replace this Touch ID with the original one, because if you don't, you won't have Touch ID on your phone. So what you want to do, keep your finger underneath the home button, and then you want to press underneath, so while you're removing the home button, that way you don't push the home button through the screen. Okay, so it's very important you keep your finger underneath the home button when undoing that screw. Now I'm going to remove the other screws. Okay, there's 4 screws holding down the home button bracket. Okay, I guess it worked out since the customer got me one that makes it easier to replace. Then it's cheaper, easier for me to do. Okay, we got this little metal plate. We're just going to take that out and set that aside. All right, and then to disconnect the home button connector, what I do is this part is connected underneath. So what I do is I use my fingernail. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, because let me try and zoom in more. Okay, hopefully you'll be able to see this. But the 2 layers are sandwiched together. So what I do is I'll use one fingernail to hold the bottom of the connector like this, and then I'll use my other fingernail to pull it apart just like that. Okay, and that disconnects those 2 pieces. All right, so now we have to remove the fingerprint sensor from the adhesive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my hot air, or there's like a portable little heater, and I'm just going to put my phone screen against there just to warm it up. Okay. I'm going to peel this adhesive strip at the bottom, the blue piece, just to get that ready. Okay. They made it difficult. There we go. Alright, I'm going to peel that blue tape up. So this blue piece should come off really easy. I don't know why it's stuck on there so strong. But let's peel that up. There we go. I guess they put the double stick adhesive on wrong because it came off with it. But that's okay, because most phones I work on, the screens doesn't even come with that adhesive. So we don't need that. Alright. So the adhesive will usually stick from the old home button. All right, hopefully it's warm enough. And then what I do is I take a needle and I just get underneath the home button connector here. Just like this. Okay, hopefully you can see. And I use that, so I put a bend in this needle. So that way when I push, it's using the bend of the needle, not the sharp pointy end. And I'm just pushing underneath the adhesive of the home button just to release it. Okay. Alright, the heater is good enough. And you just peel that up. Alright, and this connector piece on top is part of the screen, so we don't need to worry about that. We're just peeling off this part of the home button. There we go. So once you get it peeled up, as you can see, this cable comes forward, push the home button through, and let it fall out. Okay, so this one is done. We don't need that anymore. We're going to set that aside. Okay, we're going to get the replacement screen. What you want to do, there's the protective coating on the outside here. So you do want to peel up that slightly just so that you can push the home button cable through. So we'll get the home button cable through this hole, just like this. Okay. You want to, of course, make sure that that cable that's part of the screen goes on top, just like that. And then get the home button, rub on it from the other side, make sure that the home button is nice and flush to the screen. Line up this cable with that little hole, the dimple there. Okay. You can put the rest of the screen protector back on top to hold the home button in place. And then just fold this back over and press it down. Okay, if it's not lining up, a lot of times I have to push on this side of the connector to get it to go further up close to the screen, and then I can push this down on top. So if it's not lining up, push that over and then clamp it down. And there we go. Got that reconnected. Okay, so now we're going to put this bracket for the home button back on top. And we're going to put the screws around the outside of it first. Just like this. Okay, tighten up those screws. Alright, so now that you got the outside 3 screws in first, take the screw that was holding the home button in place. Get your finger underneath, okay? And then tighten that screw into the home button. There we go. So now we got the screen ready to go. If you want, you can put the adhesive. I'm going to actually test the screen fit first. So let me see here. I'm going to just test if the hinge will go down with those in place, with the thicker screws that they had. So let me see here. I want to make sure that this is going to fit. Okay. It does look like it will, but I will probably have to like push these in. Yeah, okay, so it will fit. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the screen back out. Okay, and I'm going to apply the adhesive that they got. So to do this, there's 2 sides to the adhesive. And what you want to do, they actually have these little cutouts. So this cutout is supposed to line up to get it to fit properly. We'll see if this will go on right. So what you do, you peel off the blue, this bigger blue layer first. Okay. Throw that away. Okay. And then what you do, you line up the little camera bump and this speaker bump. And then get the top edge in. I might have to put my head over the camera just so I can see better. Okay, just like this. Line it up, and there we go. Okay, so we got the adhesive on. We'll see if it actually stays. Most of the time I try and stick it down and then it just peels it back up. So what I'm doing, I'm trying to stick the edge of the adhesive down. Maybe I should zoom back out so you can see the whole thing, because phones, they're like vertical. Okay, and now let's see if we can peel this protective layer off and keep it connected, keep the adhesive down. See, it doesn't want to stay down, that's the problem. Let's see. Okay, come on. Okay, I think it's going, so let's see here. Again, you want to try and make sure this adhesive stays stuck down while you're doing this. Usually this ends up just making a mess. You want to keep pushing it back down as you slowly peel it away. Seems to be working okay. Alright. Just like that. Alright. Stick the top edge down here. Alright, it looks like we're getting it. This final edge is being a pain. There we go. Okay, so we got the adhesive in place. Hopefully it will hold up well. Now we're going to have to stick back on everything. Alright. So we're going to plug these back in. It always helps to plug in this one first, just because the weird shape. There's another random screw here that I found. I wonder where this one is missing so many random screws. Let's see here. Okay, one of the screws from the old screen was just falling out. I'll put that back in, but it doesn't need it. So they must have been pretty rough with this phone for all these screws to come out. It's kind of strange. Alright. Okay, so now we're going to put back this. If yours came with this tool, it's a little helpful to try and push this connector back in place, because this connector, to put it back, you kind of have to hold the phone in a weird position. You have to hold the screen kind of off crooked to the side, and then you have to kind of push this cable in place. So it's a little bit tricky. Hopefully you'll be able to figure it out, because there's not really much I can tell you on how to do this other than try and get it lined up as well as you can. Okay. And you can kind of use the screen to help you maneuver it. I find it's easier to do this with my finger, but let's see if I can do it with this tool, because a lot of people can't do it with their fingers. So once you get it lined up, you'll notice, like, if you try and move the tool around, it stays in place. Then you use the tool to push it down. I like to use my finger again. So just do that, push it down. Alright, and then same thing with these two cables. Get them lined up. You want to make sure they're lined up before you try and push it down. You don't want to try and push it down if it's not, and then you can damage the connector really easily. So make sure it's lined up. It's pretty tricky to do. There we go, but you just gotta feel for it. When you feel it kind of gets stuck in the little cable route, then you know you can kind of push it down. Sometimes it goes in like part way and you have to pop it back up and then try again. So it's kind of okay. And then push back the battery, and then you want to push it over, but don't clip it in place because we have to put the bracket first, and then just power it on, make sure it's turning on. Okay, screen is turning on, so we should be good to go. I'm going to peel this off. Alright, And that should be pretty much all there is. You want to test the camera, test the touchscreen, everything. I'm going to test it real quick and then I'm going to power it off. So I'm going to do this off camera because I don't want it to show any personal information if it starts showing notifications. So just wait for the phone to boot up. Okay, I guess I can pause the video here and I'll be back after I test that. Alright, so I'm back, checked all of that, so now we just have to put back these little brackets. Alright, again, you're going to want to switch back to the pH00. Okay, and then to put these screws back in, you want to loosely put them in first before you get to make sure that all three are lined up. Okay. I do this with all the brackets. I'll just loosely fit the screws. And then once I make sure everything is lined up, then I will put back all the screws. Okay. Just like this. Alright, tighten it down. Alright, make sure all the connections are good. Get the other bracket. Same thing, loosely fit the screws. As you can see, the bracket likes to move around. That's why I would fit all the screws first before I tighten them down. Alright, just like that. And last one. Alright, tighten all the screws down. Oops, sorry, I'm going out of view again. Alright, and then to put the screen back in, what you want to do, like before, you want to lift the bottom up slightly. You want to get the screen, the top piece in first, and then you have to slide it up into that groove. Once you get that slid up into the groove, you actually want to put in the bottom screws in first. Okay, if it sticks out, you want to push the little brackets inwards, okay, so that you can push it down. Just like this. Come on, go in. There we go. Do that for both. Make sure that all the brackets are going in. Okay, there we go. And you push the bottom in first, so that way you can make sure that the middle will bow out and then push the two sides out to the edge. Alright, and there you go. We've got the screen installed. Oops, what is this dirty stuff on there? This was like the screen they just gave me. How does it have this scrape on there? I hope that's just dirty stuff. I'm going to try and clean it off. Anyways, now we'll switch to the Pentalobe 0.8 or the P2 and put back the bottom screws. So, alright, and that's pretty much it. That's how you replace the screen on your iPhone 8. So, hopefully this video helped you guys. If it did, please like and subscribe. Help others find my videos. Thank you for watching. And yeah, if you're looking for one where you have to replace the camera, sensor, and everything, there's another video I have on that. So just look for that one. But again, this one, it already had the sensor and everything, so I just used it as is. So let me try and clean off this gunk that was on there. Is that gunk or like a scrape? That's really weird that they sold it like that. Okay, it is like glue or something. So it's coming off. Alright, anyways, hopefully this video helped you guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in another one. Bye.